This is the European edition of Breaking Banks, the world's #1 fintech podcast and radio show. We bring you the European unicorns, startups, founders, regulators, and leaders innovating the rapidly evolving fintech scene today. A truly localized podcast with both English and local language content, with some of the world's most well-known hosts and influencers in the fintech sector globally. Join us every week as we explore what makes the European Union a phenomenal proving ground for many of the fastest growing fintech plays in the world today. Okay, let's roll.
Hello and welcome everyone. I'm your host, Roberto Capodici. Today we are setting sail of an extraordinary journey under the banner of Breaking Banks Europe. We are rolling out the welcome mat for ConQuest. ConQuest, I hear you ask? Is it a mission, a challenge, or a riddle? Well, it's a bit of all, really. Con stands for the conniving con artists we intend to confront. And Quest represents the relentless pursuit, investigation, and unmasking of their fraudulent activities we're going to do. And we're not alone in this quest. We'll be joined by a host of guests who battle these financial fraudsters daily. In their tireless effort to protect, educate, and entertain, they will come armed with their knowledge, their experience, and their dedication to make the world of finance a safer place, being guests in our podcast. So this is your personal invitation to join us on this voyage. Welcome to ConQuest, the frontline sentinel safeguarding against the deceit of the financial world. Now let's dive into the meat and potato of our series. To battle the beast, we must first understand it. Let's take a moment to paint a picture of who falls prey to financial scams. It's not just the gullible or the greedy. It's a wide net encompassing both companies and people from all walks of life. Senior citizens, for instance, are a common target due to their perceived unfamiliarity with technology and potential vulnerability due to social isolation. They're seen as a gold mine because of their accumulated wealth in terms of savings, pension, and home equity. Lonely hearts too can fall prey of these heartless scams. Romance scams exploit their desire for companionship and end up costing victims more than just a broken heart. So the less familiar with the digital landscape, impulsive decision makers, financially distressed individuals, non-native language speakers, recent immigrants, and the less educated also figure prominently on the scammers' hit list. Now onto the how. How are those scams carried out? Well, the ways are as many as they're creative. Starting from the famous Ponzi schemes, for instance, they lure you with high return and low risk. The truth? You invest your money, pay off the old one. Profitable, right? Well, only for the scammers. Then there are prom refund scams, advanced fee fraud, lottery scams, romance scams, and crypto investment scams. The variety is vast and the tactics are truly cunning. And there are a lot of collateral beside the scam itself. Very often, the victim is also victim of identity theft and get into many more trouble than just losing money. The digital world, our so-called safe space, is equally fraught with danger. Mobile apps that favor personal information, fake websites that fish for your sensitive data, the internet can be a veritable minefield. But let's not forget, it's not just individuals who are targeted. Small to medium-sized companies are equally, if not more, at risk. Scams such as invoice fraud, email interception, SEO fraud or business email compromise, tech support scam, and supply chain fraud can cause financial ruin and operational havoc. Sounds scary, doesn't it? But fear not, for that's why we are here. Through this series, we will keep you with the knowledge and tools to recognize and resist these scams. We'll bring in experts from law enforcement, regulatory bodies, victims of scams, and even our tech-savvy YouTubers, all joining forces in our ConQuest. We believe knowledge is power. The more you know about these scams, the tactics they use, the profile they target, the better you can guard yourself and your loved ones against them. We aim to transform you from potential victims to vigilant victors. So buckle up and join us on this enlightening journey. Let's navigate this tangled web of deception together. Welcome once again to ConQuest.
Do you want your money or do you don't want your money? Then you need to do as I say. You have to go to the bank and you need to withdraw money.
Okay, let me call the bank and make an appointment, okay?
I called some tech scammers,
As an elderly old man named Richard Andrews.
and there was an unexpected twist.
Hello?
Hi, who's this?
This is the President of the United States.
5 times I give it to you the right address and still you made the mistake, you bloody... Why don't you just copy and paste?
Oh, that's easy. Okay.
Ma'am, why did
Hold
you
on a
did this?
second, so...
Why did you did this? Ma'am, why did you redeem?
hold on, let me go ahead and do the next card for you then, Steve.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Breaking Bank Europe. This is Roberto Capodici, your host, and we are now launching a new series with an incredibly amazing guest. So the series is called ConQuest, where con are the people we go after and quest is the mission we have to catch them, okay? It's your guide to understanding and preventing financial scams. So I'm here to arm you with knowledge to keep your finance secure. All right, in today's episode, we are discussing the psychology of wrong refund fraud mainly, but of scammer and victims with Kitboga. Kitboga is a Twitch streamer and YouTuber with over 3 million subscribers. I am one of them, and is well known for his internet scam baiting efforts and raising awareness about scams, mainly by prank calling various scam call center, which is the most entertaining things of his channel. You guys need to go and see it. It's fantastic. All right, so let's explain in 2 words pretty much what is a classic scam and which are the victims of those things that you follow and fight the most, Kit.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Excited to chat to you guys about this stuff. I think every single scam that I've run into, whether it's tech support scams, crypto, romance, email scams, they all have this similar element where no matter what you're doing, you have to act quickly and they want you to respond immediately. So like no matter what, whether you're winning $1 million or you're going to jail because you owe $1 million, they want you to respond right away and they don't want you to have any time to think. You just have to go along with it.
This is why they choose a very particular kind of victims that are more prone to follow these rules, right?
Potentially. I've noticed that sometimes the emails that they will send you will have different spelling mistakes, or there'll be some things that are kind of, I don't know, you might notice it. You might look at it and say, this is kind of weird. I'm not sure if this is normal. And sometimes I think they do that because perhaps you and I might see some of those issues in the email and just ignore it. But the folks that might keep going perhaps are a little bit more susceptible to some of the rest of their tactics.
Right.
There's also times where when I'm talking to them on the phone, because that's predominantly what I do, I'll pretend to be an old man or something and talk to them on the phone. And sometimes really early on in the first 5-10 minutes, if I'm not following exactly what they want me to do, they will just hang up. And I think it's because they're learning, well, if we don't have somebody who just trusts us and listens, then we probably need to go on to the next person.
So you make it very clear why it's very damaging to them to waste their time. They are really prone to don't waste time and stay on the good victims. and actually you can drag them for 10 hours or even longer, I imagine, and then it's all for nothing at the end, right?
Yeah, so I think the record is around 50 hours now, actually, over the course of like weeks. But they really, sometimes the scammers truly believe that I'm the perfect victim, and they'll just go along with it for a long, long time.
On the other hand, when there is a big prize at the end of the attempt to scam you, the desire to believe that is true may be hitting the scammer as well. So right. So that they would think they will go and get $100,000 or get how they arrive to such a huge amount.
Well, I kind of trick them into thinking that usually. So, like one of the things I do with a lot of the scammers who want to gain access to my computer, I have a virtual machine that I let them connect to. And as far as they know, it's a real computer. And I also have a fake bank account. And as far as they know, it looks like Bank of America or something like that. And usually I find that if I put anywhere over $50,000, $100,000, they really will go along with just about anything I want, because that's quite a bit of money. There's been times where I've put, $1 million in there, or some of that guy who I said, the record with 50 hours, they thought that I had, I don't know, like 30 Bitcoin and millions of dollars. So they were like, well, this is a huge prize at the end if we can put up with all of this. Of course, none of them exists, though. Yeah.
You managed to collaborate also with some provider, some Bitcoin company, like a wallet company, to pretend to make it look real. Because with the Bank of America, you can fake a website in a computer, but with Bitcoin, those information actually are more difficult to fake. So that's pretty smart. And that's what brought you to do this? How one day you said, okay, that's something, is a mission I need to fight, and making entertaining as well. So.
Well, it didn't all happen on the same day. So initially I had saw a video. It's called Hey, It's Lenny. You may be familiar with it. It's a bot or a series of recordings of an older gentleman saying, like, oh, my eldest daughter told me about this, I think. And it was set up so that when telemarketers called or scammers called, that you could have it running on your phone and it would mess with them a little bit. And I saw this video now probably 7 years ago, and I thought, this can't be real. Like, no way there's people calling saying that I'm from Microsoft and you have a virus. But I watched a video or two, and they were yelling and swearing at this bot, which is kind of funny. But I realized, wait, I'm like software engineer, millennial. I'm on the internet all day, and I had no clue that this existed. And my grandparents had Alzheimer's and dementia, and just as they got older, kind of fell victim to some scams. Not the tech support scams that I know of, but I said, if they were still alive today, they would definitely fall for this, because I barely knew that it was a scam. They definitely wouldn't have known. And that was kind of the initial spark where I said, I should probably do something. Like I should investigate this somehow. And my first gut feeling was, if I could get them on the phone and I could spend 10 minutes on the phone, that was 10 minutes the scammer wasn't talking to someone's grandma. That was like my initial thought. And then
50 hours.
Yeah. And then as it grew and I learned more, I realized if I made a video that was kind of entertaining and funny, perhaps, hundreds of thousands or millions of people would see it and then learn about these scams and share it with other people. Whereas if I put out a video that was just the facts and I said, here's what a tech support scam is, no one really cared and no one wanted to watch that video. So
Right. Our podcast usually is a serious conversation about finance. I do follow carbon credit and like this, but I want to show that there are very serious scams, and there is a very funny way that people can interact to fight those scams. And I do believe the psychological torture that you impose on these scammers, just because having physically them in front of you, probably the reaction will be different. At least I talk for myself. Is surely something that it is one of the many scam, because obviously there are company following for a scam with intercepted email. Those are more technical. There are any sorts of things, but these where the victims are old people that get taken away all their life savings is important, and it's important to bring the knowledge of these things, like you say, you had no idea, right, yourself. To those that are next to people that need the help, because the actual victim hardly will gonna listen. So we suggest really to all the people that are listening to us now to listen, not because they would need help themselves, but because they need to be aware of what their loved one can fall victim to right now.
For sure. I think there's also times, as much as I think everything you said is 100% true, and a lot of my audience tends to be younger and probably more tech savvy individuals anyway. But there are times where if the scammers are in the right time and the right place, that I think just about anyone can get scammed. So actually, maybe 6 months ago, I essentially got phished and scammed. The only reason that it didn't matter is because I follow some pretty strict rules in terms of privacy. So very quickly, there was this message that came to me through Discord. If you're not familiar, it's a lot of like gaming chat type stuff. And they said, Kit, there's this server and someone that you're on, and someone was saying that you've been trying to kind of trick people into giving them like pictures, like sexual pictures or something. And of course, I know this isn't real because I wouldn't do that. But being the guy who investigates scams, I'm thinking, oh well, I should investigate who's who's pretending to be me, right? And unfortunately I've had people do that in the past for real, and we've had to report them. So I click into this Discord, and the first thing it does is send me a QR code saying you need to authenticate and prove that you're not a bot, which is like, that happens sometimes. And I tried to scan it without thinking. Now, my phone, I don't have any of my Kitboga stuff on my personal phone. It's just, I separate those things for privacy and security. So when I tried to scan it, it doesn't work because I don't have Discord on my phone. And I'm thinking, oh, okay. Well, so then I logged into I have an emulator, like a phone emulator with a fake Discord account. I scan it. And the second I scan it, someone has now stolen my Discord account. Now, it was fake. It was an account that I used for messing with scammers, and it doesn't matter that I lost it. But I wasn't thinking at all that it was a scam or a phishing attempt. And if I would have had Discord on my real phone, I would have lost my Kitboga account. Like, I would have just immediately. Right. And what they do is then use your account to spam other people and try to steal stuff.
To be you and so on. Yes, in fact, the QR code is a big, another huge section, because it's just text, and text that the phone execute, like opening a web page or doing a command somewhere. So that's, but that's really the tech savviness should be more. The awareness of these things should be bigger. But in a calling call center and dragging them, what skill you have found to be the most essential in your daily calling? What skill set is how the psychology of how to torture, not to laugh when you're talking, because sometimes holding the laughter has to be like something else.
Yeah, that's a good question. It probably depends on what my particular goal is. Like, if it's just wasting time without, in some ways, it's finding time to listen to enough of what they want me to do and know the scam well enough so that I can not do what they want me to do. Let me think of a different way to explain that. It's almost like the more that I've spent talking to them, I think that I know their scam better than some of the scammers do.
Yes.
And some days I think the second they start the scam off, the first 2-3 lines, I already know the whole thing. I've already done this hundreds, if not thousands of times. And so I'm kind of thinking ahead of time, all right, how can I make them believe that I'm falling for it, but still mess up in a believable way? So, for example, when they tell me to go to my bank to withdraw money because they want me to go to a Bitcoin ATM or something, well, if I can stall a little bit while I'm doing that, and then when I get to the bank, they usually say, make sure you don't call me when you're inside the bank. And if anyone asks what you're doing, say you're taking the money out for personal reasons. And that's because if you told a teller, I'm taking this out to save my computer from hackers, they would tell you that you're being scammed, right? So what I usually do is say 10 minutes of silence because I think I'm in the bank. And all of a sudden I call and I say, hi, the manager's right here. And I have a question about what to do because when I told them about the hackers, they said, right, just so they think that I fell for the scam enough to go to the bank, but then I messed up because I said the wrong thing. And so they'll usually say, okay, get out of the bank, and tell me to go to a different one because they think maybe we can try again. But because I perhaps psychologically convinced them that I almost fell for the scam, they think that it's worth continuing.
Keep going and investing more time. Yes, I saw several incredible things like buying gift card and then redeeming them for yourself, and they go crazy like that, screaming.
And that's such a fun way because, again, it's hilarious because when I redeem the gift card, I have a fake Google Play Store that says $500 was redeemed to my account. So the scammers think that they lost the money and they get very angry. But psychologically, again, they think that I basically did fall for the scam, right? I went to the store, I bought the gift cards, I just entered them on my computer. Oops. So they'll have me try again, right? Go back to the store, go back to get gift cards. And sometimes I then redeem them again. Or there's mistake after mistake after mistake. And it's the scammers that will kind of put up with that end up being 20, 30, 40, 50 hours worth of time because they're like, okay, just this one more try. I'm sure this will be the time they don't make a mistake.
But is this something not to try at home, or you suggest to create a small Kitboga army of people that waste time? Is there a school to go to learn how to treat the scammer in this way?
Good question.
Something that should be done.
Yeah, so I've kind of stayed away from training a small army, though more recently I've been thinking about are there some ways that we could do that. The reason I stayed away from it is because there are some risks involved, and I was worried that if a younger viewer didn't follow all the rules, and let's say they don't use a virtual machine and they're using their mom's computer, and then these scammers will completely destroy your computer if they get mad. It doesn't matter for me because I have a virtual computer and I can press a button and go back to 3 weeks ago. But I kind of stayed away from it thinking, well, I follow pretty strict rules and I never give any of my personal information. I never call from any of my phones. I'm calling from different phone numbers. And if someone were to call from their personal number, those scammers will sell your number even if they don't scam you. And suddenly you will get calls all day long. I get calls constantly now. So initially I was like, well, there's some risks and I probably shouldn't just encourage everybody to do it. But more recently I've been thinking maybe there's some ways that I could
Yeah, so you need to be Kitboga certified. So don't try this at home. Be sure if you do that you know all the technicalities and what you're doing, because these people on the other side, they may sound innocent, but they are very bad people. They're criminals, and they go to any length to take your money if they think you have money. So
there are some resources out there. If you want to do this, you can, go out and find it. It's just initially I said, well, maybe I won't encourage everyone to, although there are some ways more recently where the community has been just sending quite a bit of scams and emails that they get, and we're working on some different AI projects to combat those scammers. So I think potentially that's in the future of having a little army of people helping to train and interface with these AI to mess with them. So there's a degree of separation now.
Right, exactly. Correct. Many times, this is the only good effort that can be done against a certain scammer, because there is no Interpol, there is no law enforcement activity, and really, because even let's say they manage to arrest this group of scammers, but then there are 10 more that are gonna come up around. So it's really something that has no limit until they succeed. And they're gonna keep going. And what if you were? What if you were at the market, I don't know, or walking around and meet somebody try to scam you in person? Okay, like with the trick card or something else. So what would be your reaction? What would you try to do? You're gonna indulge in trying to troll this person too, or stay away?
I don't know. That's a really good question, because I think my first instinct would be to go along with it. Right. I mean, at this point, if someone sends me a phishing link or a sketchy looking website, I mean, the first thing I do is click it, right? Of course I want to see what it is. I have safeguards in place, but in real life, I mean, I have children, so if I was with my family, I probably would,
avoid.
I would probably avoid it. If it was just me, yeah, perhaps I would.
I wanted to tell you at the beginning.
To the lengths of wasting their time for 10 hours and all that? Probably not. Probably not.
I wanted to tell you at the beginning of our call that we were using this application called AnyDesk to record the podcast. Which is, in fact, to many listeners, important to understand is AnyDesk is a useful application that is a legit application that has commercial value to do remote support, but is one of the favorite applications used by scammer to access the computer of the victim with the excuse of being tech support, with the excuse of entering the data to submit a refund of money, whatever it is. So when you hear this name, be 100% sure that you're talking, if somebody's asking you to install this, that you're talking with somebody legit. Ask somebody else. I guess that's one of the red flag that
I usually say that tech support should be initiated by you, not the other way around. Actually, a close friend of mine sort of coined that phrase, because oftentimes the scammers will tell you that there's something wrong with your computer, whereas you should be the one probably asking for help with the computer. If someone's just calling you up or emailing you saying there's a problem, that's where things get a little sketchy. Yeah.
What is your favorite character or persona that you play? Your favorite one that you take out for special occasion?
I think there's a grandma character who we call Edna. I might actually.
I think I can. Yes, this is a bit of her voice.
I distorted a little so it sounds like an older phone, but she gets away with a lot, I think, because the scammers see her as just an innocent old person, and she has money, and so she's fun because I can kind of do whatever. But I also more recently I do some voice like this. I don't really know exactly what it is, but some kind of voice, a little bit different accent, and I usually play him as an antagonist, like another scammer calling, which doesn't really make
And
sense. But I'll call
and they say,
myself.
no, pay attention, they're trying to scam you.
Yeah.
The scammer says about the other scam, which is incredible. Have you ever been recognized by a scammer during a call?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if they always know for sure. So there's a handful of different scam baiters, right? Who like Jim Browning comes to mind as someone that you or other listeners may have seen. He does a lot of really good informative work. He's been around for a long, long time. And I think sometimes what happens is these scammers, almost like a myth or a legend, like the boogeyman here in the US, or I don't know, chupacabra, some kind of monster in this myth. And so if they sense that the scam isn't going well, and they sense that perhaps this person's messing with me a little bit, the scammers will say something like, I know you're Jim Browning, or I know you're Kitboga. And I'll have them say, I know you're Jim to me, and vice versa. Or this happens with all kinds of different. And I think sometimes they say it because they're hoping that then you'll give up, or you'll think that, oh no, they found me. But I tend to just I tend to just keep going, and I'm like, I don't know what are you talking about? And then they'll just keep trying to scam me. So sometimes they know who I am. I've maybe had, so normally I stream this live, and I've had probably 3, maybe 4 scammers show up to the stream and say,
and then see that they themselves. Yeah.
I know you're Kitboga. I see you streaming right now. You're wearing a yellow shirt or whatever it is. And they're like, okay, fine.
So one question, which is the most specific psychological vulnerability the scammer trying to exploit when they interact with you?
Like in terms of getting me to go along with?
Yes, well, because I see sometimes they become very abusive. They start yelling. They're really scary. Like thinking if I had it in front of me, they will be using violence, physical violence, right? And this may work with some people. I guess they get scared and so they comply, rather than they try to be more sweet or give an idea. There is many different ways that they approach based on their personality, based on the script that they follow. But which is the meanest, or let's say the one particular psychological vulnerability that you think they will mainly use to get people to comply?
A lot of it's urgency.
Urgency is everything. Yeah.
And that's if that is, I think that's probably psychological, because whether you think you're going to get $1 million, or whether you think the cops are showing up to your house, there's still that sense of urgency. It can be good or bad, but they don't want you to hang up the phone, because the second you stop and think, or the second you talk to a friend or family member, the chances are that you'll find out it's a scam are much higher. So that's definitely one. I think you're right in saying it kind of depends on the scam and the scammer, because one really common thing is when I'm playing an older character, almost like clockwork, it's right in their script. I'll be talking like this and say, hello, how are you? And they'll, at some point, pretty early on, 5 minutes into the call, they say, sir, do you mind if I ask how old you are? And I'll say, I'm 87 years old. And then they'll say, you sound like you're 50. You sound so young. Like, because they're trying to
flatter you.
And then I'll say, oh, no. And they'll be, you sound just like my grandfather. You are such a sweet old man. Okay. And then if I say, you remind me of your grandson,
that's like, right?
You know what? Call me grandson. And I think that's another kind of psychological, we want you to trust us and believe that we're just here to help, just like your grandson or granddaughter would.
Which is horrible. Oh my God.
That's really, really common.
Yeah.
And then I guess the other one would be just the mean threats. But that's usually later. Like if
when you start messing up with them too much.
And I think it's sometimes a last ditch effort. They're thinking, well, if we can scare you, perhaps then you'll
I
follow.
have millions of other questions, but we're coming to conclusion. I have to say two things. I would love to do another chat, maybe more on a specific topic, a month on from now or 2 months, whenever you're available. But my last two hints, one is more still related to the topic, which is should banks use your material or prepare a custom material with you to send it to their clients that are possibly more prone to be victim as a tool to learn, or to their family? Or you think that's incompatibility there?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I think that banks should do more education. I don't know if they should use my content. I think some of it's great.
For the exact reason you were saying before, if we're making a video that just state the facts, nobody will look at it, right? So, this is fun, entertaining, and yet show to what extent the scammers. So this is a call to all the bank CEO that are listening to us now. Please contact Kitboga, because that's something that is possibly a useful things to do. And the last one, before we come to a close, have you ever thought to have your stand-up gig somewhere narrating these things?
I have no formal training in any, like comedy or improv or stand-up. If I understand what you're saying, like it's like stand-up.
Right, yes, absolutely. Like something like this.
Personally, I'm flattered that you say that. I don't know if I would be able to do something like stand-up, because I think that I tend to be so like that improv in the moment, whatever the scammer, I become the character, and then I'm interacting with the scammer as my character. With improv, I don't know if I could be funny or with stand-up.
I have the title "Scam It Is Anyway," right? I have to say that it's been amazing to have this chat with you. We arrived to the end of our conversation, more conversation to come. And we discussed, just to wrap up, we discussed about scams where victims are more vulnerable, and they are hooked by a phone call or a message in their computer that may be not tech savvy, and they follow for things where they end up losing money and savings, and how our hero, without not all the years were at top, where they say, can waste their time up to 50 hours. So I suggest everybody to subscribe to Kitboga YouTube channel, who is so cool that has Twitch and technical to follow the live stream in Twitch. And this is Roberto Capodieci signing off. But come to the next episode of ConQuest, and we're going to see you soon. Thank you very much again.
Thanks for listening to Breaking Banks Europe, a Provoke Media podcast in cooperation with FinTech Stage. Don't forget to tweet us out, shout out, or post to the team at Breaking Banks EU on Twitter. If there's something or someone you'd like to hear on our cast, let us know. See you next week on Breaking Banks Europe.